Hello fellow gardeners and welcome back to the Humus Heritage. If you're joining us for the first time, you're in for a treat today. We're diving deep into one of nature's best-kept composting secrets, and trust me, once you discover what I'm about to share, you'll wonder how you ever composted without it. I'm thrilled to explore this game-changing technique with you, and I know it's going to transform the way you think about building soil in your garden. Let's be honest for a moment. How many times have you walked out to your compost pile, turned it hopefully, only to find the same half-decomposed materials you saw last month? That feeling of impatience is something every gardener knows intimately. We pile up our kitchen scraps, our autumn leaves, our grass clippings, and then we wait. And wait. Months crawl by, sometimes stretching into a full year or more, while we dream of that rich, crumbly black gold that our plants desperately need. The frustration is real, especially when you're eager to amend your beds before the growing season kicks into full gear. But here's the exciting truth I'm going to share with you today. There's a completely natural, astonishingly effective solution that's probably growing wild in your neighborhood right now, just waiting to revolutionize your composting practice. Enter Comfrey and Nettle, two plants that most people dismiss as troublesome weeds but that savvy gardeners recognize as absolute composting goldmines. These aren't just any green materials you can toss into your pile, they're nutritional powerhouses with unique properties that make them genuine composting accelerators. Comfrey, with its deep taproot system that can reach down 6 to 10 feet into the subsoil, acts as what we call a dynamic accumulator. This means it mines minerals and nutrients from depths that most plants simply cannot access, pulling up potassium, phosphorus, calcium, and a whole spectrum of trace elements, then storing them in its broad, hairy leaves. When you add these leaves to your compost, you're essentially importing fertility from deep underground and concentrating it where your decomposing materials can use it. Nettle brings its own impressive credentials to the table. This stinging plant is extraordinarily rich in nitrogen, that crucial element that fuels microbial activity and balances out all those carbon-heavy brown materials in your pile. Both plants contain protein levels that rival many legumes, and this protein breaks down into the nitrogen compounds that composting microorganisms crave. What makes them truly special is their cellular structure, which is relatively soft and breaks down with remarkable speed compared to tougher plant materials. This rapid decomposition isn't just convenient, it's the key to their accelerating effect, as their nutrients become immediately available to the microbial workforce in your compost. Now that you understand why these plants are so valuable, let's talk about getting them into your compost safely and effectively. Comfrey is often cultivated specifically for composting purposes, and the variety Bocking 14 is particularly prized because it doesn't set viable seed, preventing it from becoming invasive. You can harvest comfrey multiple times throughout the growing season, cutting the leaves when the plant is in full growth but before it flowers. Simply take a sharp pair of shears and cut the plant down to about 2 inches above ground level. The plant will regenerate vigorously, giving you several harvests per year. Nettles require a bit more caution due to their notorious sting, but don't let that intimidate you. Wear thick gardening gloves, long sleeves, and long pants when harvesting. The best time to gather nettles is in spring and early summer when they're young and tender. As older plants become woody and less nutritious, cut the top 6 to 8 inches of growth, avoiding any plants that have gone to seed, since nettle seeds can survive composting and germinate in your finished compost. Once you've harvested your materials, you can use them immediately, or if you prefer to handle nettles without worry, simply let them wilt for a day or two, and the sting will disappear as the formic acid in the stinging hairs breaks down. Here's where theory transforms into practice, and your compost pile transforms from sluggish to supercharged. The secret to using comfrey and nettle effectively lies in proper integration and balance. Think of your compost pile as a living system that needs the right ratio of ingredients to thrive. The ideal carbon to nitrogen ratio for rapid composting is roughly 30 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, and both comfrey and nettle are considered nitrogen-rich green materials that need to be balanced with carbon-rich brown materials like dried leaves, straw, shredded paper, or wood chips. So, to get started, you'll want to chop your comfrey and nettle leaves into smaller pieces. This step increases their surface area and, honestly, it really speeds up decomposition. If you're building a new pile, Think of it like making lasagna. Layer your materials by spreading a layer of browns about 6 inches thick, then add a 2 to 3 inch layer of those chopped comfrey and nettle leaves. After that, go for another layer of browns and just keep alternating like that. Now, if you're adding to an existing pile, simply dig into the center, toss in your chopped greens, cover them with browns, and then give the whole pile a good turn to mix everything up thoroughly. Within just a few days, you should notice a pretty dramatic increase in temperature as the microbial population just explodes in response to all that nutrition. For those of you using compost tumblers, the process is honestly even simpler. Just add your chopped comfrey and nettle along with your other greens, making sure you keep that critical balance by adding enough brown materials. Then, tumble daily to keep oxygen flowing through the mix. Now, worm bin composters can absolutely use these materials too, but here's an important caveat. Use them sparingly and always pre-compost them a bit or bury them under bedding. The reason is, the intense heat they can generate might actually disturb your worm population. One incredibly effective technique that I like to use is something I call an activator layer. If your pile seems to have stalled, just chop up a generous amount of comfrey and nettle, spread it across the top of your pile, water it lightly, and honestly, you'll watch as it jumpstarts the entire system within about a week. The results you'll see from incorporating comfrey and nettle into your composting routine are, honestly, nothing short of remarkable. Piles that would usually take 6 to 12 months to fully break down can be ready in as little as 2 to 3 months with regular additions of these powerful plants. And the finished compost isn't just ready faster, it's noticeably richer in nutrients, darker in color, and way more biologically active than compost made without these additions. Your plants will respond with vigorous growth, deeper green foliage, and improved disease resistance when you amend your soil with this supercharged compost. To maintain this acceleration throughout the season, you'll want to establish a regular harvesting schedule. Comfrey can be cut every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season, so you'll have a steady supply of activator material. It's a good idea to create a dedicated patch of comfrey and nettle near your compost area if you can, treating them as the valuable composting crops they truly are, rather than weeds to be eliminated. Some gardeners even create a liquid fertilizer by steeping these leaves in water for 2 to 4 weeks, producing a concentrated nutrient tea. This can be diluted and either added to the compost pile for an extra microbial boost or applied directly to plants as a foliar feed. One crucial point bears repeating: balance is everything. While comfrey and nettle are powerful accelerators, adding too much without enough brown materials will just create a wet, smelly, anaerobic mess instead of beautiful compost. Always match your green additions with sufficient browns, and keep an eye on your pile's moisture level. It should feel kind of like a wrung-out sponge. If you notice your pile getting too wet or picking up an ammonia smell, just add more carbon-rich materials and turn it to introduce some oxygen. The beauty of this approach is really in its sustainability and simplicity. You're not buying expensive commercial activators or synthetic additives here. You're working with freely available, renewable plant materials that you can grow yourself or even harvest from wild spaces. This is composting the way nature intended, using the wisdom of plant partnerships and nutrient cycling that's been perfected over thousands of years. Your garden becomes a closed-loop system. Plants feed the soil feeds the plants, and you're simply the facilitator of this beautiful natural process. If this guide has opened your eyes to the incredible potential hiding in plants you might have previously overlooked, I really hope you'll subscribe to the Humus Heritage and share this video with fellow gardeners who could benefit from faster, richer compost. Together, we're building not just better gardens, but a deeper understanding of how to work with nature rather than against it. Now get out there and supercharge that compost pile.